The Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Those not entitled to the privilege of the floor will please retire to the gallery. The senators and all in attendance will stand and be led in prayer by the Reverend Andrew George, Clover Hill Assembly of God, Midlothian, Virginia.
Good afternoon. Let's pray. God, we come before you today recognizing that every good and perfect gift comes from you. We realize that apart from you, we can do nothing, but with you, all things are possible. We ask that today that our dialogue be full of your unfailing and unconditional love towards those that both agree and those that disagree with us. Give us a relentless compassion as we seek the greater good. Let every home, family, and individual here experience you, your love, and your blessings in a greater measure. Today, you've set eternity on our hearts, resiliency in our spirits, and a love that flows from your heart. God, of all the faiths and beliefs represented here today, I humbly submit this prayer to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. The clerk will call the roll. All those in attendance will record their vote aye. Clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Senate Journal for Friday, February 2nd, 2018.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of the waiving of the reading of the journal will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 6.
Ayes 34, noes 6. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the House of Delegates. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I respectfully move we waive the reading of any communications from the House of Delegates.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communication be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading of the communication from the House of Delegates will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 2.
Ayes 37, noes 2. The reading of the communication from the House of Delegates is waived. Clerk will report any communication from the governor.
We do not have any, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now has come time in the morning hour where we welcome our guests and visitors here in the Senate gallery. We're grateful that you all took the time to be here with us today. Just as a friendly, gentle, daily reminder, the way this will proceed is a senator will recognize an individual or a group. I will then extend the warm welcome of the Senate, and then we will all clap together that one time. So thank you all so much for your cooperation. And I'd like to begin by recognizing it's now here, Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purposes of 2 introductions.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I would like to introduce Penelope Pender-Prouty. She is the parent of Senate page Sean Pender-Prouty, and she comes from Arlington County and is one of those very devoted and active moms. And I would ask that the Senate give Ms. Pender-Prouty the warm welcome that we normally extend to visitors.
I thank the senator. This will be my other second friendly, gentle reminder. We're going to clap after I give the warm welcome to the Senate. But thank you, guys. I love the enthusiasm, though, so thank you. Penelope, would you please rise in the gallery? Thank you so much for joining us here today. We are very grateful that you took the time to be here. We're also deeply grateful that you've allowed Sean to be part of our page program. Sean is really fantastic, and all the pages really are having a wonderful time together. And so we thank you, and I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to Penelope Pender-Prouty. Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. President. For my second introduction, I would like the Senate to see the Moms Demand Action Group. This group was founded by Shannon Watts on December 15th, 2012. It was in response to that devastating shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School. It is a statewide group. This group advocates for common sense gun safety laws. They are here today to speak with lawmakers about the need to retain the current laws regarding the issuance of a permit to carry a concealed weapon. So I hope the lawmakers have an opportunity to meet with members of the Moms Demand Action. They're an awesome group, and I ask that the Senate extend a warm welcome.
I thank the senator. Would our guests from Moms Demand Action in the gallery with us please rise? Thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you for your advocacy and your work all around the Commonwealth of Virginia. I know that our legislators are looking forward to meeting with you, and I know that you will continue your great work. We're very grateful to you. I had the pleasure earlier of meeting Katie, who I see right there, and she is, her teachers just said she's here. She's here. She's supposed to be here, not necessarily in school today, but she's very impressive, and your group is very impressive as well. So thank you. You're welcome here anytime, and I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to Moms Demand Action. Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Mr. President, I rise for an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, today advocates from all corners of the Commonwealth are participating in Children's Mental Health Advocacy Day. Here today are members from Voices for Virginia's Children, the National Alliance for Mental Illness of Virginia, Vocal Virginia, and Mental Health America of Virginia. These folks are advocating they're spending the day meeting with their elected officials, sharing their stories, and advocating for adequate resources to improve and strengthen the mental health system for children. With half of all mental health cases, lifetime cases, of mental illness beginning by age of 14, it's critical that we raise awareness about mental illness and lessen the stigma that prevents people from seeking help early on. These folks are here because Virginia ranks 49th in this nation for the rate of youth with major depression who did not receive mental health services. They're concerned about the nearly 25% of adults in Virginia's jails with mental illness and the overwhelming number of youth in the juvenile justice system have a mental health disorder. They're concerned about children's and young adults' mental health needs, particularly those in transition, ages 18 to 25, when a mental illness often presents, and the lack of a safety net for these young adults. We all have a duty, Mr. President, to address mental health, to let those with mental health disorders know that we care about them just as much as we care about those with heart disease or cancer. As we address mental health during this legislative session and beyond, it's my hope that we will work together to make much-needed improvements in access to care and the availability of community-based services. When we do, we will have a lasting impact on the lives of thousands of children, adolescents, and adults with mental health disorders. Mr. President, I'd urge you to give this group the greeting of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would our guests from the Children's Mental Health Advocacy Day group in the gallery please rise if you're able? Thank you so much for joining us here today, and thank you for your really important and thoughtful work and advocacy on such an important issue to really all of us and to all of our families around the Commonwealth of Virginia. Echo the really wonderful words of the senator from Bath, Senator Deeds, who's been a leader himself on this score. And so we're grateful to you. We appreciate all that you're doing and the thoughtful way you've engaged here with us in the Capitol, and you're welcome back anytime. So I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to this distinguished group. The senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purposes of an introduction, please.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
In the gallery today, we have two of my favorite people, the Reverend Andrew George, who gave this morning's invocation, and his lovely wife, Lindsay. And they're very special people to me. He's actually my pastor and his wife. And we actually have a pretty large campus. We have 3 service times, but I love the mission, which is to touch the world. We have initiatives in our schools giving backpacks, sending backpacks home to kids who are in real need that don't have food, and we pack those. We have prison ministries. We have a crisis pregnancy home for women who find themselves with an unplanned pregnancy, prison ministry, foster ministries, where we partner with social services. And all of that comes with a lot of work. So I really want to thank my pastor today for taking time out of his busy schedule to be here today, and just for his family and their commitment to Chesterfield and really in doing the outreach of touching the world. Thank you.
Thank the Senator. With Reverend and Mrs. George, please rise in the gallery. Thank you all so much for being here today. Reverend, thank you for that really beautiful prayer. Got us off to the right foot. Lindsay, thank you for joining us as well and taking the time out to be here. As the Senator mentioned, we're grateful for your moral leadership and for what you do to make our Commonwealth a better place for really all of us. And so you, of course, are welcome here anytime. And want to have everyone please join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to Reverend and Mrs. George. Senator from Franklin, Senator Stanley.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. It's good to see you.
Good afternoon, Senator. Great to see you as always.
Thank you, sir. I rise for the purposes of an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. In the gallery today, we have a fine group of seniors from Tunstall High School in Dry Fork in the beautiful county of Pittsylvania. It's the largest geographically size-wise county in the Commonwealth of Virginia. They're all seniors, as I said. Mr. President, this could be considered a senior skip day, but it's with a purpose. And I'm judging that it's not a senior skip day because I don't think they'd allow themselves to be filmed and put on TV if that was the case. Mr. President, if you would join me in welcoming Leah Haskins, Alyssa Hill, Kelsey Smith, and Brenda Ariano. They're all from Tunstall High School. They're all excited. They were telling me all the colleges they've have applied to and want to go to. With the exception of one who wanted to go to Randolph-Macon, they all sounded like fine choices. And I say that because I went to Hampden-Sydney, and that's the only reason. So if you would, Mr. President, I'd ask you to extend to them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the Senator very much. Would our guest from Tunstall High School please rise in the gallery if you're able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. We are grateful that you took the time to be with us in the Senate. Very proud of you and your work as seniors, and I know that you will have a bright future ahead of you. So keep up the great work and focus on your grades, and I'm sure you'll go to wonderful institutions of higher learning going forward. But we are very happy to see you, and you're welcome here anytime. And I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate. Senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
We have with us today representatives of Equality Virginia joining us in the gallery and in Capitol Square for their annual Day of Action. They're representing hundreds of thousands of LGBT Virginians and millions of equality-minded citizens as well. We've got members of the LGBT community and allies promoting equality for all citizens of Virginia. I hope that you'll extend to them a warm welcome from the Senate.
I thank the Senator. Would our guest from Equality Virginia in the gallery please rise if you're able? Thank you all. Thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you for your advocacy year-round for equality for all, as Senator Eben mentioned and so eloquently stated. We are grateful to every single one of you. Thank you for being such thoughtful, concerned, and engaged citizens here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We are grateful that you're here today and hope that you will come back at any occasion that you see fit. And I see a lot of my great friends, including Catherine Reed here in the audience, is a dear friend of mine and my family's. So thank you, and I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate. Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. Today in the gallery, we have some advocates that I think all of you have gotten to know over the last few years. They're fierce advocates that have become friends. And these are the families who have been working on the medical cannabis oil legislation here in Virginia. And I think we're all very excited. It's on third reading today, so hopefully nothing will get pulled. But they've been working very closely with the senator from Western Fairfax and the senator from Fauquier, and I've been blessed to be able to work with them too. And so I'm so honored and happy to make sure that you know that they're here with us today. And Mr. President, I hope you will welcome them warmly.
I thank the senator. Would our guests here, families who have been working on medical cannabis oil legislation, please rise in the gallery if you're able. Thank you all so much for taking the time to be here. Thank you also for engaging so constructively in our legislative process and focusing on something that's really important to all of our families. And I know there are many personal stories that you have shared and have turned challenges into purpose, and we're very grateful for that. So I would echo the kind and generous words of the senator from Henrico and all the other senators with whom you've gotten to work. And I would ask everyone, please join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate. Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purposes of an introduction.
I thank the senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today in the balcony, we have a large group of high school students visiting us from all over. They are accompanied by their sponsor from Fluvanna County. These students are participating in the ASSE International Student Exchange Program. This is an educational trip that is required for some of the students who are recipients of some of the following scholarships: the Congress Bundestag Youth Exchange, Future Leaders Exchange, and the Kennedy Lugar Youth Exchange and Study Programs. These programs are funded by the United States Department of State's Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs. This morning, they learned about how bills originate and go through the committee process, and this afternoon, they're here to watch how work gets done in the Senate actual session. I would ask that you please extend the warm welcome of the Senate.
Thank the senator. Would our students and guests from the ASSE International Student Exchange in the gallery please rise if you're able? Thank you all so much for being here today. It's a large, wonderful group. We are grateful for the work that you are doing. It's so important also to obviously have experiences where you get to meet people from other cultures and countries, and it makes us all better by having that kind of diversity and exposure. So thank you. We're very proud of you and the scholarships that you've received. I know that you will have very, very bright futures ahead of you, and we look forward to supporting you in any way that we can. I would ask everyone, please, to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate. Do any other senators wish to be recognized for purposes of an introduction? Before we leave the morning hour, I thought it, Madam Clerk, would be appropriate to point out that the senior senator from Fairfax has a birthday today. And so I'd love to give him the warm welcome of the Senate. And Dick Senator Sasslaw. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
How do you spell that word, octogenarian? Mr. President, I'm going to respectfully ask that we now stand in recess until 12:45, and if the ladies and gentlemen on this side of the aisle would very timely report to the prayer meeting room, that would be wonderful.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the Senate stand? The senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Mr. President, I ask that when we go into recess, if the Senate Democrats could meet for meditation in the back room.
I thank the senator. Question is, shall the Senate stand in recess until 12:50? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate stands in recess until 12:50. The Senate will come to order. We are now back from recess, and do any senators wish to be recognized for purposes of introduction or for the morning hour? Seeing none, the clerk will call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Monday, February 5th, 2018. Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on third reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I now move all the Senate bills on the third reading on the uncontested calendar, which would include all Senate bills on pages 1 through 11, including Senate Bill 336 through Senate Bill 937, be placed on their final passage in the block. If any senator desires to remove a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of that bill.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the Senate bills on the uncontested calendar third reading, pages 1 through 11, Senate Bill 336 through Senate Bill 937, be placed upon their final passage in the block, with the understanding that any senator desiring a bill be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. The clerk will read the number of the bills.
Senate Bill 336.
Mr. President.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
I've conferred with the patron of that, and I respectfully ask that that bill be removed from the block and passed by for the day, sir.
Without objection, Senate Bill 336 will be removed from the block and go by for the day.
Senate Bill 584. Senate Bill 630.
Mr. President.
Senator from King George.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have discussed this with the patron, and I'd ask that that come out of the block.
Thank the senator. What number was that, Senator?
I'm sorry, 630.
630. Without objection, Senate Bill 630 will come out of the block.
Senate Bill 593.
Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
That's okay, Madam Chair. We're not going to pull that out of the block. It's okay.
Okay.
We changed our mind.
Thank the senator.
Thank you, Tara, and thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Senator.
Senate Bill 27. Senate Bill 47. Senate Bill 179. Senate Bill 225. Senate Bill 465. Senate Bill 538. Senate Bill 560. Senate Bill 573, Senate Bill 622, Senate Bill 636.
Mr. President.
Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Could Senate Bill 573 come out of the block, please?
Without objection, Senate Bill 573 is removed from the block.
Mr. President.
Senior Senator from Loudoun, Senator Black.
Could Senate Bill 27 come out of the block?
Without objection, Senate Bill 27 is removed from the block.
Senate Bill 871, Senate Bill 894, Senate Bill 937.
The question is, shall the bills in the block pass? That is all bills except for Senate Bills 336, 630, 573, and 27. All in favor of the passage of the bills will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The bills in the block pass.
Returning to page 2, Senate Bill 630.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Serville.
President, move the bill pass and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bill.
Mike is right on the one.
Mr. President, that's much better.
Hear you clearly.
Senate Bill 630 does two things. It's a FOIA bill. The first part of it, subsection B, says that if any public entity destroys records in connection with a FOIA request, that the court can assess consequences for that. And the second section has to do with closed meetings. That basically says that if any local government official votes to certify a closed meeting when things were talked about in that closed meeting that should not have been, then a court can also assess consequences for that. That's basically what the bill says. Right now, the code doesn't provide or create any consequences for anybody who violates FOIA, either by destroying records or voting to certify meetings that never should have been certified. That's what the bill does. I would hope it passed.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from King George, Senator Stewart, rise?
Rise to speak to the bill, Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. The concerning part about this bill is in paragraph C, line 29 through 24, and let me explain to you what it does. There are a lot of public bodies that have meetings and have the ability to go into closed session, but let's talk about it in relation to maybe a board of supervisors in a small rural county. That county has less than 20,000 people. Those supervisors make, I think it's $7,500 a year. They actually have to pay the localities money each month in order to get health insurance like the other members of the county can get. And in this bill, you would now be imposing a $500 fine on those members of the Board of Supervisors if they certify that while they were in closed session talking about purchasing a piece of property for a county ballpark, and they talked about something else. So it's for instance, if they talked about dinner plans the next night, technically they're in violation of this. If they talk about anything other than the purchase of the property for the ballpark, which they're allowed to do in closed session, you now could come back and you could assess a $500 penalty against them. It is a really onerous bill. The FOIA Council studied this last year or the year before, I can't remember which, because my attendance at those meetings have not been the best, as some of you all know. But I can tell you that the Council studied this issue and they couldn't come up with a recommendation for legislation going forward. And I know what the Senator's trying to get at. There are potentially some bad actors out there, and they'll go into closed session and they'll talk about something when they certify under another provision, and they're very limited provisions that you can go into a closed meeting for. But this bill is way too broad. It's drafted way too broad, and it would subject folks to onerous penalties simply if they kind of made a mistake and they didn't know what they were doing. And so I think we need to send this back and try to fix it. I hope that we will not vote for this bill.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Serville.
Sorry, wrong button. Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking, if nobody else has anything else to say,
do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 630?
Okay, speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would say a few things in response to the senator from Stafford. Number one, I'm not sure I've been able to get the FOIA Council to ever agree to anything. When the bill was heard over there, I think it was 2 years ago, they basically deadlocked. I think it was 6-6 or something like that. The local government folks all unanimously hated the bill, and everybody else thought it was great. And so given that this mainly affects local government, that's not a big surprise. So I'm not sure the FOIA Council would have any further benefit, sending it there, them looking at it further would benefit anything, number one. Secondly, I don't think it's realistic to think that a court would whack a local government for talking about dinner plans in a certified meeting. I mean, in theory, that would be a violation. In reality, I don't think that's realistic. I can give you some real examples in the last 4 years of situations where this has come into play. Number one, Rappahannock County went into closed session to discuss a personnel matter and discussed some non-exempt matters, and that's currently the subject of a court case right now. Number two, in the city of Portsmouth, the city of Portsmouth actually adopted a local rule in closed session that created a process to fine council members for talking about matters discussed in executive session. And then they found another member in violation of that rule and fined him in closed session, which is another thing you can't do, and now they've repealed that rule. But in any event, that's the kind of thing you can't talk about in a closed session. Number three, Albemarle County, they talked about relocating their courthouse in a closed session. You can't do that in a closed session. Number four, the city of Franklin went into closed session to discuss personnel bonus policy. Not a bonus for a specific person, but bonus policies for employees. That's the kind of thing you can't use. A policy is not something you talk about in closed meeting. And so right now there's just no incentive for anybody abusing the closed meeting process or destroying records, which is the other half of this bill. And there needs to be consequences so our local governments actually follow the law. So I have a simple solution to people that are worried about consequences. Follow the law. There won't be consequences. And I would hope we still pass the bill.
Mr. President.
For what purpose is a senior senator from Loudoun County rise?
Gentlemen, rise for question.
I'll yield.
Patron. Gentleman will yield for a question.
I asked the gentleman, the $500 fine, does the judge have discretion if it's alleged that something was done that is relatively minor and sort of non-consequential? Does he have the ability to say, well, it won't be a $500 fine, it'll be a $50 fine?
Senator has the floor.
I would say to the gentleman, I believe we changed that to May in committee, if I'm not mistaken, on line 32 for the subsection C violations.
I thank the gentleman.
Senator.
Mr. President.
Senator from North Chesapeake.
Gentleman, yield for a question.
I'll yield.
Gentleman yield. Senator has the floor.
I discussed from the colleagues here that I was trying to find out that portion in the city of Portsmouth, for example, it wasn't in the executive session, is that members on city council will go out and talk about to the press and other people outside. I was trying to find out how that covered in this bill. That was our concern. They did right in the executive session, but they talk about it outside. Everybody knew about what they talk about in the executive session.
Senator has the floor.
I would say to the gentleman, I have the article about the city of Portsmouth right here, and you're welcome to read. But my understanding from the article about what happened in Portsmouth is that the rule adopted a policy to fine fellow members for violating the closed meeting, talking about closed meeting matters. They adopted that policy in a closed meeting, which itself was a violation of FOIA. And then they went after Councilman Bill Moody, I think it is, for talking about things that happened in a closed session. And they made the decision to fine him in a closed session, which was also a violation of FOIA. And after a judge found all that, they subsequently repealed the entire rule that they adopted in closed session improperly. And here's the article if you want to read it.
Yes, thank you. Mr. President, another question.
Senator has the floor.
My concern was, is there any penalty when a member discuss outside the executive session what went on into the executive session?
Senator has the floor.
No, that scenario is not dealt with in my bill. That would be definitely a violation of law, but I don't know of any consequence for that other than the voters.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 630? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 630 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 31, noes 8.
Ayes 31, noes 8. Senate Bill 630 passes.
Page 4, Senate Bill 27.
Senator from Franklin, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move that Senate Bill 27 pass. And speaking to that motion, sir?
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, Senate Bill 27 is a bill which directs the Virginia Community College system to establish and administer a 3-year temporary assistance for needy families, that's TANF, scholarship pilot program. The purpose of this is to try to allow those children who are in TANF-eligible families the opportunity to receive a $4,000 a year scholarship so that they can attend one of our community colleges. Now, this pilot program will be administered in 2 community colleges, one in a rural area and one in an urban area, where the eligibility for TANF may be greater. What we're trying to do for these young men and women is help them break the cycle of poverty, and we believe that education can lead the way. Each year, the The pilot program of this 3-year program will report back to see how we're tracking these students, how successful it is. And certainly we believe that we can reach with that $4,000 and the $800,000 plan out of the TANF block grant that we get from the federal government, we'll be able to serve 200 needy students, students that are TANF eligible from TANF eligible families. So when we think about what we're trying to do to make sure that we're giving every child the opportunity to achieve the American dream, this TANF Scholarship Pilot Program achieves that. And for those reasons, Mr. President, I would urge and renew my motion for the passage of Senate Bill 27.
I thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 27? Seeing none, the question is...
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President.
Oh, sorry, Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Yes, will the gentleman from Franklin County yield for a question?
Will Senator yield?
Yes, sir, gladly.
Senator will yield. Senator has the floor.
Senator, is the funding for this scholarship, is all of the money coming from TANF?
Mr. President, I would answer the gentleman by saying we are given every year a block grant, a certain amount from the federal government for TANF, for temporary assistance to needy families. Many of you may know this, that when you serve on the Finance Committee, many of you may not, is that we do not use up all of those monies. And so the leftover, there is always leftover, and we try to, in the Commonwealth of Virginia, find TANF-related things that we can do to help those at or below the poverty level. This is an approved way of using these monies to try to educate those children. So it does come out of the TANF block grant money, but it doesn't take any money away from those receiving TANF.
Senator?
Thank you, Mr. President. That answers my question.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 27? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 27 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. Senate Bill 27 passes.
On page 8, Senate Bill 573.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass. I'd like to speak to that.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate. Senate Bill 573 is the green job tax credit. We currently have it in place. It's been in place now for 3 years. This bill would extend that potential credit for another 2 years. Essentially what this does is that there's a definition of green jobs. It has to do with jobs that are alternative energy, creation of electricity from solar or heat, a number of things that the Secretary of Commerce has delineated as qualifying. It can grant up to a $500 per year tax credit for jobs that pay over $50,000 per year. It's been used modestly. It's my hope that particularly with the administration putting a high tariff on the importation of, say, solar equipment from China, that perhaps people now will want to manufacture these products in Virginia. So I hope it will be the pleasure of the body to pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 573? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 573 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Ayes 37, noes 3. Senate Bill 573 passes.
Regular calendar, Senate bills on third reading. Senate Bill 698. A bill relating to erosion and sediment control inspections, natural gas pipelines, stop work instructions, emergency. We have 2 floor amendments.
Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Mr. President, we're still working on the floor amendments, and frankly, we have language that I think clarifies the sole subject, and I'd ask respectfully that this bill and the next go by one more day, please.
Without objection, Senate Bill 698 and Senate Bill 699 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 414, a bill relating to the Micro Market Act penalty.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, in an effort to speed up our calendar, I'd move pursuant to Rule 20F that Senate Bill 414 be re-referred to the Committee on Agriculture and carried over for the year.
Voice vote. Senator wish to recommit the bill?
pursuant to Rule 20F. That one.
Senate will be at ease momentarily. Senate will come to order. The question is, shall the bill be recommitted to the Committee on Agriculture pursuant to Rule 20F and carried over to next year? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is recommitted and carried over to next year.
Senate Bill 168, a bill relating to electronic transmission of nude or partially nude images of minors by minors penalty.
Senator from Franklin, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that Senate Bill 168 pass. And speaking to that motion, sir.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you very much, sir. Senate Bill 168 I've worked on for a year with a deputy Commonwealth's attorney out of my area in Danville. She has come up with an idea, because what we're having right now is a problem with our youth in the school systems. They've got smartphones, they've got cell phones, and they're unfortunately transmitting pictures of themselves or others within these phones to each other. And so what we're having, though, is a dilemma with our Commonwealth's attorney. We've had it happen in counties in my area as well, where what you have is basically someone in possession of or transmitting child pornography, but yet they are a child. And so it's either an all or nothing proposition in those cases, because ultimately what we're trying to do is you either charge them with a felony where a felony conviction for possession or transmitting such child pornography results in a pretty significant result and being on a sex offender list, or you do nothing. And so what this bill that I've worked on also with the senator from Eastern Fairfax is about is actually trying to find that middle ground. So it allows for that when a minor is in possession knowingly transmits, distributes, publishes, disseminates, or is in possession any sexually explicit visual material, that may be charged as a Class 1 misdemeanor, and that any minor who knowingly possesses at least one or not more than 10 images in the same regard may be guilty of a Class 2 misdemeanor. What this bill also has in it, and I think is very important, is a first offender opportunity. Because a lot of time what we're doing is we're taking young men and women and branding them with a felony, and you never get that off the record or even the charge. But what we have here is that when a person in such circumstance has never been convicted of a charge like this before, we can have a deferred disposition where they do at least 50 hours of community service and has that disposition deferred for at least 6 months, and that would be up to the court and the Commonwealth's attorney as well. If that young man or woman then during that time completes the 50 hours of community service and also is of no other charges during that time, then the charge would be dismissed against them. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one way of solving this problem, which is becoming unfortunately more pervasive in our public schools and our private schools. I want to say that there is a provision in this under subsection F, line 37, which says this does not bind a Commonwealth's attorney to charge only under the statute. If the factual circumstances present themselves that are different from what I've just described, then this statute does not prohibit nor preclude a prosecution under any other statute in the Code of Virginia. I want to thank the Commonwealth's Attorney, Deputy Commonwealth's Attorney from the City of Danville, Peter Haskins, who has worked on that bill with me, and I think this is the proper way to actually handle this matter as it presents itself in our various county, cities, and towns. And for those reasons, Mr. President, I renew my motion that Senate Bill 168 pass.
I thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, rise?
Gentleman, yield for a question.
Will the senator yield?
Yes, sir, I will.
Senator has the floor.
Direct the gentleman's attention to, I believe it's line 15 and 16 of the bill, which makes a reference to any sexually explicit visual material. And I'd ask the gentleman, this is in the child pornography code, but that subsection B deals with the transmission of any sexually explicit material, but from one minor to another minor. Is that not correct?
Mr. President, I would answer the gentleman that we amended this portion of the legislation to reflect the proper definition as it is found in and already defined in the Virginia Code. The intent of that defining those terms more explicitly than we had before, Mr. President, we had identified it as any videographic or still image to another minor without malice. And so this is now defined, but that would, I think, encompass any, Mr. President.
Senator from Fairfax City, a further question?
Further question, Mr. Chair.
Senator, yield for a further question?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And I understand that may be defined elsewhere, but at least in this subsection under lines 15 to 16, again, there's no limitation to a depiction of a minor. It could be any sexually explicit video, image, or anything else. I mean, that's just, it is what says what it says.
Mr. President,
There's the floor.
I'd answer the gentleman that, that it is what it says it is. Any minor who knowingly transmits any sexually explicit visual material to another minor without the intent to harass, intimidate, or extort money or other pecuniary gain on any device, through any media, or through the use of a computer system would be guilty of a Class 1 misdemeanor.
I thank the gentleman. So I just have him confirm that it's any sexually explicit materials. It's not a picture of another minor. It could be a picture of an actress or what have you.
Mr. President, if that's a question, I would say that it would be defined as we define it in the code as sexually explicit visual material, which would be a little broader than just a picture of one minor to another minor.
All right. I'll speak to the bill at the appropriate time.
Thank the senator. Does you do it now?
If I might.
Yeah, please.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, the senator, I've been admonished not to refer to my legal career when I make remarks, so I won't. But I'm going to refer to my career as being a father of teenagers. Because let me tell you something, this happens all the time. And if you have teenage sons or daughters, and I have a bunch of them, and you happen to get into their phones either by accident or intentionally, you would be amazed at what you find. And I dare say many or most of them have probably already violated this statute. Now, my colleague and my great friend from Franklin County says there needs to be a middle ground or there needs to be another option other than charge them with a felony. Here's what the other option is. You take the phone away, okay? You don't need a statute to take the phone away. Every single one of our kids is on a family plan, okay? Those of us that have teenagers. You can take the phone away. You can put it on suspension. You can do whatever you need to do. We're creating a new statute here with extremely broad criteria for why we can charge somebody with a crime. Not to intimidate another person, but simply to transmit a sexually explicit image. Which one of us among us in our youth wouldn't have been violated that at some point? Okay? So the point is, we don't need this statute. It's a well-intentioned statute, but what we need is more involved parenting who are not afraid to take away the technology when it's appropriate to do so. So I recognize what the gentleman is doing here, but honestly, I think we're better off without this bill.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Arlington, Senator Favola, rise?
Mr. President, I rise to speak in favor of the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sure many of us in our committees as we've reviewed bills regarding our justice system, and particularly our juvenile justice system, we have learned that the brains of our young people simply do not develop when they're teenagers. That whole part of your brain which regulates judgment and impulse control is oftentimes not developed to an individual as 22, 23, and some journals have said 25. So what this bill does is, in my mind, is it enables a more rational approach in dealing with a situation where you have a teenager who doesn't fully understand the consequences of an action, believes he or she is acting to be funny, in jest, to communicate with another teenager, and has no idea of the consequences. And as the patron just explained, if an individual is actually caught, then right now our Commonwealth's attorneys, some of them believe they have no option but to actually charge a felony. They don't believe they have an option to ignore the situation. So you have an inappropriate, well, I won't say inappropriate, let's just say a varied application of the law as we currently have it, because some Commonwealth's attorneys understand the whole issue behind childhood development and the fact that children are not exercising judgment, and they don't apply the current felony statute. And I just want to remind folks that, the Commission on Youth learned 72% of 14-year-olds actually have access to some kind of phone. This is your iPhone. And more than a third of our teenagers have sent what you could define as a sexually explicit image to their friends. So in this context, I applaud the patron for coming up with an option, in my mind, which would bring some fairness to a situation where a juvenile could be educated, could be advised, could be informed that you can't do this again, and the juvenile would not suffer the severe consequences of being slapped with a felony charge. And I just want to remind the body that if you have a felony charge, it affects your right to vote, it affects your ability to access certain professional careers, it affects your right to bear arms, affects your right to serve on a jury. Many jobs are prohibited. So the consequences are severe. And I would hope that we all try to strive for a system that is fair, that acknowledges the different developmental stages of our young Virginians, and works within the construct of this statute to what I think would be a much more appropriate way of dealing with sexting. Thank you. I ask the body to support the bill.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise to ask a question of the co-patron.
Will the co-patron yield?
Eastern Fairfax County.
Fairfax. Will the senator yield?
I yield.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
Mr. President, there was talk about this bill in courts, and I think the senator from Hanover brought up a very good question, and I don't know that I see it's been answered here. Does anything in this bill now prevent parents, since it's a misdemeanor offense, from going out and obtaining warrants directly with the magistrate?
Senator from Eastern Fairfax.
We talked about that in committee, and I do not see such a limitation in the bill.
Mr. President, further question?
Further question?
I yield.
Senator has the floor.
So this would allow any parent now in a situation where maybe their child got a picture to go down and directly get warrants against that child or petition orders against that child without it even being investigated by law enforcement. Is that correct?
Senator from Eastern Fairfax.
Another parent could go to the magistrate, and they would have to satisfy the magistrate that a misdemeanor has occurred, and they would probably have to show them the pictures and be able to articulate who it was. And then a magistrate, in their discretion, could issue a warrant without law enforcement being involved in the investigation. I agree.
Senator from Spotsylvania.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. For what purpose does the senator from Eastern Fairfax rise?
Speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been working on this for about 4 years now.
Actually, Senator, do you want to speak at the end once we have a few other senators who want to chime in?
Sure. Okay, I'll wait. I'll hold on.
Okay,
I'll
great.
stand down.
Thank you. For what purpose does the senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben, rise? Senator's mic is not on.
To ask if the senator from Fairfax City would yield for a question.
Will the senator yield for a question?
I yield.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
the ability to take away your child's phone. But I wanted to ask him, under current law, before you take away a phone, hasn't there already been a crime that can be charged?
Senator from Fairfax City.
Well, I would say what typically happens if a school principal or someone would notify me as a parent of this type of situation, I would take the child's phone away rather than getting the police involved.
And
Alexandria?
Would the senator yield for another question?
Yield. Senator has the floor.
If I would ask the senator if the school principal wasn't the person to find the phone with the explicit image, but perhaps by the parent of the minor on the other end of the phone, on the other end of the picture, if they were to find it first and they were pretty angry, couldn't they be the ones to call the police or the magistrate and have it charged now as a felony?
Senator from Fairfax City.
Well, they could not have it automatically charged. I think that was the whole point of the last conversation, that they could not just go to a magistrate. What they could do is refer it to a Commonwealth's attorney, who most cases would not charge a felony. But again, if they would contact me as a parent, I would ask that we be allowed to handle it as a family situation.
Senator from Alexandria.
I thank the senator, and I would ask that we pass SB 168.
Thank the senator.
Mr. President.
For what purpose does the senator from Northern Chesapeake, Senator Spruill, rise?
Speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm hoping that we do not pass this bill. It seems to me now that young folks who are coming up now, we want to lock them up. The question was asked about their brains being developed. That's not so. The average young person now, at 5 years old, they're thinking at 15. I have this phone right here. I know how to text. My granddaughter was 11 years old. I carried her to school. I had a BlackBerry, the old BlackBerry. She said, "Papa, leave your phone in the car because that's old school." And she didn't want her friend to see it. So sometime I know how to get into it. I don't do emails. I know how to text. And she showed me how to do Facebook stuff on this phone. So I'm saying that take it away. It seems now because young folks are much smarter than we are, especially the girls, guys. I hate no disrespect. Girls are much smarter at their age than boys. I got granddaughters and one grandson, and he's 3 years old compared to their age. So I'm trying to figure out when they do things like this, if we have another option of taking away from them, if you are a good parent, take the phone away. And then you speak of the question about the discretion of the Commonwealth Attorney. All Commonwealth attorneys lock people up. You can't find a prosecutor's officer that will give anybody a break. And that's why I raised the question about Commonwealth attorneys being lawyers. They want to lock people up. So that's my question, that what about giving the young folks a break if they make a mistake? Let the parents take the phone away. If that don't work, then lock them up. That's what I'm trying to say. So we are saying we are punishing young folks because they are doing stupid and smart things now. We all done it. We do it now sometimes. We just haven't gotten caught. So I'm saying this, don't use this method first. Let's use the method, as the senator said, to be the parent. Take the phone away. Take the phone away. Then that don't work, then do what you got to do. Let's not start locking young folks up because they're smart. You were once young yourself. You weren't smart, but you were young one time. So let's give the young folks a break. Take the darn phone away from them and say, hey, you can't do it. Take the darn phone away from them. That's all you got to do. Thank you so much.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from King George, Senator Stewart, rise?
Rise to speak to the bill, Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, directly to the senator from Northern Chesapeake's point, I view this bill actually is trying to help these children. So, Mr. President, what happens automatically now? This is actually distribution and possession of pornography. That's what it is under the law. And you know, I'm so reluctant to say it, but the gentleman from Franklin really has a good idea here. He really does have a good idea here. And so what you're doing is you're taking what would be considered felonious activity by children, and we're recognizing the fact that they're children and that probably their brains aren't quite there yet. And we're giving them an opportunity to be able to work through this at the level of a misdemeanor and a first offender program, so ultimately these kids can have a clean record and they're not injured going forward in life because they did something really stupid. Otherwise, you got a lot of aggressive prosecutors who will charge these children with a felony, and they are stamped with that. So that's the way I see this bill. That's why I voted for it in committee. I really think it's an important alternative, and I hope you all will support this bill.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to speak in support of the bill.
Senator has the floor.
As a mom of 4 teenage kids, and actually also having talked to several of my friends who are JDR judges, they think this bill is a good idea, and I'll tell you why. It's the same reason, and I won't reiterate those people who have, but kids are kids, and they play around and they do dumb things like I have 3 boys, and they like to play practical jokes on each other and get each other's reactions, and throwing ice over the shower and snapping a picture to get their reaction is probably something my boys would probably do. And I would hate to see my boys or any of my friends who have teenage kids get in big trouble with a felony that they have to potentially forego getting an opportunity to college or any other opportunity. So I think that I will take the suggestion of my JDR judges and support the bill. Thank you.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal, rise?
Mr. President, I rise to speak to the bill.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I've listened to a lot, and I think there are a lot of different opinions about how we address the situation, because I think everybody agrees it is a situation that is in our communities. But the gentleman from Fairfax City raised a point, and as I went back and reread the bill, in Section B, it says a minor knowingly transmits any or disseminates any sexually explicit material. So we are not just talking about a minor who takes a picture of another person, receives a picture of another person who is a minor. We're also now talking about minors who forward on pictures that they found online to somebody else. Now they're guilty of a criminal offense where they weren't guilty of a criminal offense before. Mr. President, I know that this is a challenging situation, and right now the prosecutors in the Commonwealth of Virginia are charged with making those tough decisions. But, Mr. President, if we are to pass this, you will all of a sudden have parents whose minor receives a picture going down and swearing out warrants against other children. And I do think we are setting up a system, even though we're intending to lessen the burden, are going to result in more children having petitions sworn out against them, more children being in court. And I do think that it's a concept we need to continue to work on. I don't think that this bill is the finished product that should come out of the Senate.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley, rise?
Only if no one else wishes to speak, and that's, I believe, I would yield first to the senator from Eastern Fairfax.
Okay, senator from Northern Chesapeake, Senator Spruill. For what purpose does the senator rise?
To Senator Stanley, I don't know where he's from. Question to Senator Stanley.
Will the senator yield for a question?
Yes, sir, I will yield.
Senator will yield.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, I asked a question to a well-known lawyer. My concern is that misdemeanor, not being a lawyer, I asked a question that if we do this, and the first time offense that a kid get a misdemeanor, I asked the question that now this kid go out and finish college and get a degree and get a job. I asked the question, is that misdemeanor expunged from his record, or would he had to pay a lawyer to get it expunged? And I was told that it cannot be expunged. And that's arrived because so many times young folks will make a mistake with a misdemeanor, and they get up and they're grown, they finish college, and then apply for a nice job. That misdemeanor is right there, and that cannot be expunged. Can you answer that for me, please, sir?
Mr. President, I'd answer my friend by saying this. Look, what we're dealing with are when minors commit crimes. And as a criminal defense attorney in my other life, I can tell you that minor records stay in minor records. And at terms of 18, you start over again. And so what we're also trying to do in the bill is not even tag them eventually if it's an error of judgment, of age, of not thinking in the ways that you talked, but more giving them the opportunity to prove to themselves, to their parents, to the other parents, to the school, to everyone, that they are not that they are young men and women that do not deserve an eventual misdemeanor conviction. So if they go through if they get charged with a felony, and it's reduced down into this section, or charged with the misdemeanor, and they enter the first offender status program that is permitted under this legislation, then hopefully at the end they're not going to have any conviction. It will be a charge that will be on their record as a juvenile, and juvenile records are not subject to disclosure. So that's why, because when you turn 18 and maybe you have a juvenile record, I'm not saying I did or not, but I can certainly say that after I turned 18, I can tell people I didn't. And so it takes care of itself when they're juveniles.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Stanley, would you like to speak to the bill, or would you want to yield?
Yeah, and just briefly, and then I'll let Senator Servo finish up. You know, I heard from my friend from Fairfax City about parenting. We should take away the phone when they do something like this. I wholeheartedly agree. You know, it was really hard for to allow the decision for my 13-year-old daughter to have a phone, or my 15-year-old son. I don't want them to have the internet. You know, technology has changed us in ways that, you know, when we were growing up, we never had these things that come at us at the speed that they do for our children now. I mean, we'd pick up a stick and we'd turn into Babe Ruth. Now they've got a phone and they've got access to anything. And what concerns me is that sometimes the internet can be your friend and can be a great source and tool, but it also can be a huge danger to your children. Not just because when your child turns on their computer or their phone that a person, a pedophile who means to do them harm can enter into their room virtually in ways they never could before, because we could lock the door, because we could take away the phone. And without even us knowing it, this can occur unless you have some special app that tracks the movements of your child on the phone. I mean, things have changed in ways that, you know, we would never take pictures like that, because you'd have to take the little thing that you took the pictures on back to CVS to get it developed. And if there was any bad photos on there, they wouldn't develop them. We don't have that anymore. What we have, and believe me, and I say to my friend, the senator from Hanover, it happens. It's happened in my counties. And it puts the prosecutor into a huge dilemma. All or nothing. Felony or nothing. Letting that behavior go away with nothing doesn't discourage the behavior. Tagging with a felony seems over-prosecuting, overcharging, and over-convicting. Take away the phone. I'd love to, but you can also have the issue and the problem, which we saw in a case in my area, which was simply this. Pictures were being disseminated from one young lady to a young gentleman. That gentleman starts sending them around to his friends to show off. It started like wildfire. And when the parents found out, what was the parent of the young woman going to do? Take away everybody's phone? No. They went to the prosecutors. And so this strikes a balance between the two. If your knucklehead son is doing something like this, take away his phone. If you catch him, take away his phone. But for those that may be on the opposite end, it is not uncommon, nor is it wrong for them to go to the Commonwealth's attorney and seek justice. And let me say this, Mr. President, and I will close on this. You know, we seem to think, oh no, we're going to have some rogue parents running into magistrates' offices, showing them what's on their kid's phone, and saying, this kid did this to my kid, and I want a misdemeanor charge. I can tell you this from my experience with magistrates. Magistrates are going to see something like that and go, you're going to need to go to the Commonwealth's attorney, because that's a felony. The simple possession itself is a felony. It's the circumstances that give the Commonwealth's attorney, our prosecutors, the discretion, the tool in the toolbox to do something in the middle, to correct behavior, to punish behavior, but not to end someone's life before it even begins with a felony conviction that doesn't fit the crime. And for those reasons, Mr. President, I support my own bill.
I thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just very briefly to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
After 40-plus years in the juvenile justice business and looking at kids in judgment, I'll take a misdemeanor that is going to possibly be misinterpreted or misprosecuted over a felony any day. This gives us much more flexibility. It's a much safer thing for our kids. Mistakes are always going to happen. This is the safer course of action. Vote for the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 168? I got you. Seeing none other than the senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Serville.
Speaking to the bill, Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
I support my own bill as well. Just a couple points I want to clarify. First, the senator from Chesapeake. The way misdemeanors work in Virginia is that if you're convicted of a misdemeanor, or actually technically the term is adjudicated delinquent of a misdemeanor, before you turn 18, it's automatically expunged. I think a year after you turn 18 by statute. So it's automatically expunged. You can also get it expunged earlier if you file a motion. So it doesn't stay on your record forever if it happens before you turn 18. That's just not how it works. Secondly, I started working on this issue about 4 years ago when the former sex prosecutor for Fairfax County, the way they do it in Fairfax is the Commonwealth Attorney has one prosecutor that focuses on it. He came to me and explained to me a lot of the situations that he'd been put in the middle of, and he basically said he was getting phone calls on a daily basis from principals, teachers, clergy, etc., who had come into contact with a cell phone that had child pornography on it. And if any of you, most people here, I assume, probably haven't done that. But I can tell you, for example, in my divorce practice, if you ever do a forensic on somebody's computer, or actually it's a matter of practice of law, if a computer forensics company finds child pornography on a computer, it's like toxic waste. They feel like they have to turn it over to law enforcement immediately. And that's exactly how teachers and principals, clergy, etc. feel, is they see child pornography on the phone, they go, oh my God, it's a felony, I have to report it. I have no discretion. And in today's society, whenever anybody sees a felony sex crime, they feel like they have to call law enforcement. And they can't just call a parent. They feel like they have to call the cops. And the reason that I put this bill in, and the reason I put it in a couple years ago, is that we need to start this conduct off at the misdemeanor level so that people don't feel the need to involve law enforcement. So, because if it's a misdemeanor, then they can feel more comfortable taking care of it as parents or clergy or teachers or whatever. That's why it needs to start this way. And, the senator from Franklin County is absolutely correct. The studies that have been done, the Journal of American Medical Association found that 28% of all children under age 18 have sent one of these. 76% of those who have done it are sexually active. What it is, when it's discovered, it's an opportunity for everybody to intervene and have a conversation because it's typically indicative of other stuff. And I'm telling you, it's urgent that we fix this problem. There was a terrific article in The Atlantic about Louisa County, which you all ought to read. Go to Google it and read it. It's a really long article, but it talked about how this one message got discovered, and the detective started to poke around. By the time he was done, he had pictures in phones of almost every single kid in the high school. And what he said is, I told the deputies, we got to draw the line here somewhere. We're going to end up talking to every teenager in the damned county. And then he said, after a week of immersed education on the subject, the detective found himself just where the rest of the nation's law enforcement community was, and much of the nation, on the subject of teen sexting. Totally confused. Were the girls being exploited? Were they just experimenting? Was sexting actually harming the kids? If so, why didn't they seem to care? An older man stopped the store, said, that's child porn. You ought to lock those kids up for a long time. But the detective didn't want to charge the kids just for being stupid, he told me later. We don't want to label them as child molesters. And that's what this legislation is about. It's about giving law enforcement the option and the families and the communities an option to be more sane about this instead of dealing with felony child pornography. And I'd hope you support the bill.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall Senate Bill 168 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 5.
Ayes 35, noes 5. Senate Bill 168 passes.
Senate Bill 55, a bill relating to the Department of Professional and Occupational Regulation, disciplinary actions by regulatory boards.
The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeStaff.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass. And speaking to that,
the senator has the floor.
Mr. President, Senate Bill 55 does two things. First, it allows a regulatory board under DPOR to determine the factual basis for its discussion through the informal fact-finding conference under the Administrative Processing Act. If a regulant and a regulatory board agree to resolve the matter through a consent order, the regulant consent or to waive the conference and go directly to a formal hearing. The second part of this bill, if there is a successful motion to quash a subpoena, ducis tecum, which is basically a subpoena for the production of evidence, then the court would award the reasonable costs and attorney fees or $500, whichever is greater. And basically, Mr. President, this would have to be a successful motion to quash the subpoena for production of evidence. So that's what the bill does. And with this, I move that Senate Bill 55 pass.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 55? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 55 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 18.
Ayes 22, noes 18. Senate Bill 55 passes.
Senate Bill 869, a bill relating to education improvement, scholarships, tax credits, benefits, and eligibility requirements for students with a disability.
The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeStaff.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass and speaking to that measure.
Senator has the floor.
Senate Bill 869 broadens the eligibility criteria for students with a disability to include students with an individual instructional plan. Attending a school for special students with a disability licensed by Department of Education and accredited by the agency approved by the Virginia Council of Private Educators. This bill will actually save public schools dollars in the end. The bill increases the scholarship amount available for eligible students with disabilities from 100% to 300% per pupil amount distributed to the schools. With that, Mr. President, I move the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 869? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 869 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 18.
Ayes 22, noes 18. Senate Bill 869 passes.
Senate Bill 44, a bill relating to kinship guardianship assistance program.
Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that this bill pass. And speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a few minutes ago, we unanimously supported a bill, Senate Bill 636, from the senator from Henrico. That bill was on the uncontested calendar and passed unanimously. And my bill is exactly the same bill, word for word. I will take one moment to just explain the bill. What it does, it's a kinship guardian assistance program. It would allow the state to participate in a federal program to draw down money to support relatives who step forward and agree to provide a permanent home for their kin who are in foster care. So if a child is in foster care, does not have an option for adoption, and a relative steps forward and agrees to go through training and agrees to be a foster parent for a short period of time, and then agrees to provide a permanent home for the child, and the permanency agreement is determined by the JDR court, then that relative would then be eligible for Title IV-E monthly payments. It really has no financial impact because the foster child's parent is already getting the Title IV-E payments, so those payments would be transferred to the relative. So this will enable relatives really to be able to financially afford to provide that permanent home. And all of our studies show that when children are raised by relatives, we have much better outcomes. They're more emotionally stable, they do better academically, and they flourish. So for all these reasons, this is the fourth year I've put this bill in, and I do pray every day that this bill somehow gets passed. There's a de minimis fiscal impact. So having spoken as long as I have, I guess I'll stop. I don't want to talk you out of voting for my bill. I ask the body to please pass this bill. Thank you.
I thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from James City County, Senator Norman, rise?
Speak to the bill, Mr.
Senator
President.
has the floor.
Yeah, I almost changed my position on it. If I look at the history of this bill, there was one negative vote against it in the entire history of it, and it has the contingency clause with financing on it.
That's true.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 44? The senior senator from Loudoun, Senator Black.
Could I ask the gentlelady a question?
Will the senator yield for a question?
Yes, of course. I apologize.
No problem. The senator yields.
Could I just ask, you referenced the cost of the program and the negligible or non-existent cost.
Correct.
And the question I have, let's say you have two sisters who each have children, and let's say they live in the same apartment complex and so forth, and one sister files a kinship application, the other one files a kinship application, then they are both entitled to monthly payments on those children, aren't they?
I would respond to the senior senator from Loudoun by saying the child already has to be in foster care. So the child will have been removed from a home and will have been in a public system before this kinship assistance program kicks in. So the situation you're explaining, it sounds like there are two sisters living together and one sister's trying to take care of the other sister's children. That's just not the way this is going to work. They're very rigorous requirements from the federal government because we're drawing down about 75% of the program in federal dollars. So there really are a lot of regulations that have to be in place. And I would say that the situation you described would not be covered under this program.
I thank the gentlelady.
Thank the senator.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 44? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 44 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. Senate Bill 44 passes.
Mr. President. Mr. President.
Sorry, Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Having voted on the prevailing side by which we passed Senate Bill 869, I move we reconsider that vote.
Question is, shall the vote by which Senate Bill 869 was passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeStaff.
Mr. President, having previously explained Senate Bill 869, I move the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall Senate Bill 869 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. Senate Bill 869 passes.
Senate Bill 211, a bill relating to comprehensive plans, groundwater, and surface water.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the bill pass and speaking to the measure.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, what this bill does is it includes in the comprehensive plan for localities language to ensure the continued availability, quantity, and quality of groundwater and surface water. And we had a discussion the other day about this issue as it relates to the bill brought by the senator from Williamsburg. In The Eastern Virginia groundwater management area, we're losing the Potomac aquifer at a pretty significant rate. We've got saltwater infiltration coming in Virginia Beach. They do get a lot of their water from Lake Gaston, but if you use the water out of the aquifer down there, you've got to have desalination techniques. It's predicted that within 5 or 10 years, you're going to have desalination techniques for the northern neck of Virginia, the lower tip of it. So it's moving on up this aquifer. This is just one measure to try to help localities. Now, it is statewide, and some folks don't like the fact that it's statewide, and I get that, but I don't want it to be special legislation. So I hope we can understand that. But what it does is it allows localities to plan for and put an emphasis on groundwater sustainability. Our Constitution says that we're supposed to direct this water and save it for human consumption. Thus far, we've not really been so good about doing that. So this is another measure to help us and the localities to put an emphasis on saving this, hopefully, for those of us who rely on it for drinking water.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 211? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 211 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 6.
Ayes 34, no 6. Senate Bill 211 passes.
Senate Bill 371, a bill relating to recreational facilities, regulation of activities, liability of localities.
Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill pass. Speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Southwest Virginia is for the last few years, we've been working in a direction to transition our economy in a lot of different ways. And this is, in a way, a revenue enhancement bill. And here's how. The statute that this amends provided for civil liability for localities and landowners who opened up their land for recreation for purposes of RTVs and motorcycles. And this bill expands upon that to other outdoor activities like hiking and biking and horseback riding and boating and different types of activities. And Southwest Virginia is such a beautiful place. If you haven't been there, you really should visit it. And this is just one more of our efforts to continue with our transition. I hope the bill will pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 371? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 371 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Ayes 37, noes 3. Senate Bill 371 passes.
Senate Bill 378, a bill relating to coal tax credits.
Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that this good bill pass.
Thanks, Senator. Senator has the floor.
And speaking to it, coal, I've stood here and spoke on this floor for a number of years about the coal tax credit bill. And as I know you know, coal is the most valuable mineral commodity that is a resource that is produced in the Commonwealth. It's all produced in my district and in the district of Senator Carrico, and it accounts even with the reduced numbers that we have after this devastating decline in the coal economy. It still accounts for 5% of the coal field's workforce, and it still accounts for nearly 12% of the coal field region's entire wages and earnings. So there are two kinds of coal that are produced by deep mining, and the first type is a metallurgical coal. And metallurgical coal is the type of coal that is used for the creation of steel. You can make coke out of that coal, and it makes the steel that that supports this beautiful room here. It makes the steel that's in the car that you likely drove to work in, and maybe part of your pocketbook or your watch or your belt buckle. It's clearly it's something. It's a commodity that we have to have in our everyday life. The other type of coal is steam coal, and that coal, of course, is used for electrical production and also for heating. Now, back in 2016, 60% of the amount of coal that was produced in Virginia, Southwest Virginia, was metallurgical coal. 40% of the amount of coal that was produced in Southwest Virginia was steam coal. So the coal, all this coal, but primarily the metallurgical coal, it's transported by rail out of Southwest Virginia and brought to the port, and there it is largely shipped out of this country and goes to Europe and goes to other places where it is sold. And there is an international market for metallurgical coal. And by the way, coal accounts, the coal industry accounts for more railway traffic and more railway revenue than any other commodity in America. So it's kind of a big issue when it comes to the choo-choo. It's sort of a big issue for the trains, and it's a big issue for Hampton Roads too, because Hampton Roads just happens to have the largest coal exporting facility in the United States, and more coal goes through Hampton Roads than anywhere else in the entire United States. And that coal is from Southwest Virginia, and that coal is met coal. It's metallurgical coal. So Senate Bill 378 would reinstate the Coalfield Employment Enhancement Tax Credit in a way that represents a substantial and significant compromise and a new approach, a fresh approach. This is not your granddaddy's coal tax credit bill. Under the bill, the Coalfield Employment Enhancement Tax Credit could be claimed only for metallurgical coal. It will not apply to steam coal. Steam coal is completely out of the equation, and that takes 40% of the production that I mentioned of the current rates of production of coal, and takes them out of the conversation. I will tell you that, you know, in all ways, this bill is completely different than the previous bill that we tried to support our entire coal industry. Okay, that's what we've tried to do, and we still try to support our entire coal industry. But we're looking for a compromise with this bill that recognizes that we have to have metallurgical coal in this country, and other countries all around the globe have to have metallurgical coal because they're going to produce steel, they're going to build buildings, they're going to produce automotives, and they're going to produce jet airplanes, and they're going to produce trains, and they're going to produce all these different things that are used by people every day that are made out of steel. This bill would also limit the aggregate amount of the Virginia Coal Employment and Production Incentive tax credits that can be allocated or claimed by electric generators to $7.3 million per fiscal year. And I can tell you, you know, from a local standpoint, coal production in Southwest Virginia and the coal-producing counties is absolutely critical to our continued existence and to our ability to transition into other industries. Right now, and in the past 10 years, coal mining companies have paid over $320 million in severance taxes to those coal-field counties as the coal came out of the ground. And that accounted for about 9% of the total taxes that we collected. Now, these tax revenues are important for our infrastructure, for our roadways, for our water, for our sewer, for all those things that we we do in Southwest Virginia that we don't come to you and ask for. We don't come to the legislature and we don't go to the federal government and ask for it because we're getting funding right there. So this compromise bill to reinstate the coal tax credit for met coal and met coal only is a vital step for us to be able to preserve this line of funding through the severance taxes, and also it's an important way for us to be able to further the transition of our economy. So, when I look at metallurgical coal, even more so than the whole picture for the coal industry, it's just a very critical piece for the Commonwealth of Virginia. You've heard about the imports being up at Hampton Roads. Well, the coal, the train traffic is up. Okay, in my region, things are starting to move again. Things are moving a little bit, and it's the met coal that's coming out of the ground, and it's partly because of the market for that met coal. So I hope it will be the pleasure of the body to pass this compromise bill.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 378? Senator Chafin, would you like to talk again? Okay, sorry. All right. No, thank you. So to give you one last opportunity. The question is, shall Senate Bill 378 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 29, noes 11.
Ayes 29, noes 11. Senate Bill 378 passes.
Senate Bill 429, a bill relating to local regulation of solar facilities.
Senator from Franklin, Senator Stanley.
Mr. President, this has nothing to do with coal. But due to the fact that we've run over about 20 minutes on the last bill, and I love you all so much, I'm going to ask that this bill go by for the day.
Without objection, Senate Bill 429 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 451, a bill relating to localities' authority to require abatement of criminal blight on real property.
Senator from Petersburg, Senator Dance.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill pass and speak into the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. Mr. President, this bill works to provide a remedy for neighborhoods that are made unsafe and blighted by drug abuse during drug dealing and prostitution, primarily in hotels and motels. It comes from the Virginia Housing Commission at a request from last year's bills introduced by Delegate Carr, and I, on behalf of the Chief of Police for the City of Richmond, to solve these issues of criminal blight. The Housing Commission took this up, and as a result, they've come up with a defined criminal blight by expanding on drug blight to include commercial sex acts and maliciously discharging a firearm within the building. The bill works to change the policies and practices of real property owner to abate crime. The owner would have 30 days to take corrective action to alleviate the blight, and if he needed assistance from the locality, it would be provided. The bill would further define criminal blight to include conditions on real property that endanger the residents of the community by the regular presence of persons using the property for controlled substance use or sale and other criminal activities, specifically commercial sex trafficking or prostitutions. During the work of the commission, other rural police chiefs and in urban areas also expressed a desire to have this bill passed. And I, too, ask that the bill pass.
I thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 451? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 451 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. Senate Bill 451 passes.
Senate Bill 726, a bill relating to certification for use of I've been practicing it all day. Cannabidiol oil or THCA oil.
The Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speak to the bill.
Thank the Senator. You have the floor.
I move that the bill pass. And to summarize this bill on cannabidiol oil, I will just say we have discussed this topic for the past many years. 2 years ago, we decided to compound cannabis here in Virginia and release both THCA and CBD oils. And it was at that time used just for intractable epilepsy, as the arguments were made so eloquently by the advocates on behalf of their children. And as we have really stabilized the process by which we will compound these oils, we've had more and more evidence showing how many other people can be helped by this. And I think in the course of the discussions, the idea that the legislature would be the ones that would decide year after year what the latest medical evidence showed were good indications for use of these oils, it's much better to let doctors decide for what these oils can be used. I will remind you, these oils do not produce a high, but they have many therapeutic benefits, some really staggering statistics that show in areas that have cannabis law that you will have 25% less deaths from overdose. That's something we could use in Virginia. And so there's so many of your constituents that have MS or Crohn's or other illnesses that will benefit from this. In addition to the epilepsy, I'll ask you to support this bill.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 726? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 726 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40. Sorry. Senate will come to order. Ayes 40, noes 0. Senate Bill 726 passes.
Uncontested calendar, House
Mr.
bills
President.
on second reading.
Senior Senator from Richmond City, Senator Sturdivant.
Having voted on the prevailing side by which we passed Senate Bill 211 on page 16, I move that we reconsider that vote.
Question is, shall the vote by which Senate Bill 211 was passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. The Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Having previously explained the bill, I move the bill pass.
Question is, shall Senate Bill 211 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 32, noes 8.
Ayes 32, noes 8. Senate Bill 211 passes.
Uncontested calendar, House bills on second reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I would now move that all the House bills on the second reading on the uncontested calendar, which would include all Senate bills on pages 18 through 20, including Senate Bill 227 through Senate Bill 389, be engrossed in advance to the third reading and second reading.
Does Senator want them to be dispensed with? Suspend the rules?
House bills.
Oh, darn those House bills. Mr. President, I would move that the rules of the Senate be suspended and that the second constitutional reading of the title of the House bills be dispensed with.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the second reading of the titles of House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 18 through 20, House Bill 227 through House Bill 389 be dispensed with. All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I now move that the bills be passed by for the day, sir.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on third reading be passed by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on second reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Let me try again, Mr. President. I respectfully move that all the Senate bills on the second reading on the uncontested calendar, which would include all Senate bills on pages 21 through 29, including Senate Bill 983 through Senate Bill 977, they be engrossed and advanced to the third reading in the block after the adoption of any amendments. Any senator who may desire to remove a bill from the block should please do so after the clerk has read the number of that bill.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall all Senate bills on second reading on the uncontested calendar on pages 21 through 29, Senate Bill 983 through Senate Bill 977, be engrossed in advance to the third reading in the block after the adoption of the amendments thereto, and that any senator desiring to remove a bill from the block do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to.
Senate Bill 983, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with a substitute.
The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I would ask that this bill come out of the block and by for the day before adoption of the committee substitute.
Without objection, Senate Bill 983 will come out of the block and go by for the day before the adoption of the committee substitute.
Senate Bill 57, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with amendments.
Mr. President, I move we adopt the amendments.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are adopted.
Senate Bill 180, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. Senate Bill 309, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
Senior Senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move the committee substitute.
Question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
Senate Bill 347, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. Senate Bill 361, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. Senate Bill 364, reported from the Committee on Transportation with a substitute.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
Senate Bill 368, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. Senate Bill 392, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, I move that the substitute be adopted.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
Senate Bill 475, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
Senate Bill 543, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with amendment.
Senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move the amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Senate Bill 566, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. Senate Bill 568, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. Senate Bill 601, reported from the Committee on Transportation. Senate Bill 643, reported from the Committee on Transportation. Senate Bill 725, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute.
Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Can you hear me? Thank you,
Hear
Mr.
you now.
President. I
Thank
move
you,
the substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
Senate Bill 785, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
Senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, I move the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
Senate Bill 840, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. Senate Bill 841, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the substitute be adopted.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
Senate Bill 868, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. Senate Bill 874, reported from the Committee on Transportation with a substitute.
Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howe. On Senate Bill 874.
I move it be engrossed. No, I move the committee substitute. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
President.
Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
Senate Bill 882, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSteff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the substitute be adopted.
Thank you, Senator. Question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
Senate Bill 890, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Mr. President, I move adoption of the substitute.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
Senate Bill 931, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. Senate Bill 932, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. Senate Bill 941, reported for the Committee on Transportation with a substitute.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd ask the committee substitute be agreed to, sir.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Senate Bill 947, reported from the Committee on Transportation.
Mr. President.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I ask that Senate Bill 947 come out of the block and by for the day.
Without objection, Senate Bill 947 will come out of the block and go by for the day.
Senate Bill 960, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. Senate Bill 961, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. Senate Bill 977, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Yes, Mr. President, I move the adoption of the substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
Regular calendar, Senate bills on second. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. The question is, shall the Senate bills be engrossed?
Cold.
Question is, shall the Senate bills be engrossed and advanced to their third reading? That is all bills except for Senate Bills 983 and 947. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills are engrossed and advanced to their third reading.
Now, regular calendar, Senate bills on second reading. Senate Bill 569, a bill relating to the Department of Professional and Occupational Regulation, Board for Contractors, exemptions from licensure. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology, and there is a floor substitute.
The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSteff.
Mr. President, I move we waive the floor substitute.
Question is, shall the reading of the floor substitute be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor substitute is waived. The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSteff.
Mr. President, speaking to the bill and explaining the floor substitute.
Yes. Senator also want to make a motion to agree and then speak to it?
Oh, Mr. President, I move that we agree to the floor substitute.
And speaking to it, Senator has the floor.
Speaking to that floor substitute.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, on the floor substitute here, we inadvertently removed a couple of things out of this that we put back in, strictly technical in nature. It does not change the intent of the bill at all.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the floor substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor substitute is agreed to. The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D-Step.
Mr. President, I move we engross and advance to its third constitutional reading.
Question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading.
Senate Bill 625, a bill relating to consumer finance companies, loans, licensing. Reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with a substitute.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Surville.
Move the committee substitute.
Question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Mr. President.
Senator from Franklin, Senator Stanley.
Mr. President, thank you, sir, and I do this with much regret because I think so highly of my good friend from the senator from Eastern Fairfax. But, Mr. President, I make a motion that we recommit Senate Bill 625 to the Committee on Commerce and Labor. And speaking to that motion, sir.
Senator has the floor.
Briefly, Mr. President, last week in Commerce and Labor, we voted out. I voted for this bill because I thought it put some good parameters around an unregulated industry, and now it sits on the floor of the Senate. But since that time, I think we've all become aware of where some of the stakeholders got together after a work group was convened by the Bureau of Financial Institutions by Chairman Kilgore, who have been working on a consensus bill that includes stakeholders such as BFI, OAG, Poverty Law Center, Online Lending Alliance, Virginia Consumer Finance Lenders, among others, and that this bill probably needs to coalesce with that bill as well. I do not seek to kill his bill. I think that it just needs to go back to Commerce and Labor while there's still time, and so that we can take care of it. So with all due respect to my friend, Sir Scotty, who is a friend of the Crown, I now move that we recommit Senate Bill 625 to the pit of misery. Dilly, dilly. And that pit of misery, Mr. President, is known as Commerce and Labor. Because if you sit on it, you know what I'm talking about.
I thank the senator. Senator from Eastern Fairfax, wish to be recognized.
Speaking of the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd hope you'd oppose the motion. I don't want to go back to the pit of misery. But more substantively, I think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding out there about sort of the origins of this bill and what it does. First of all, I was at all three, or I think 2 of 3, of the Bureau of Financial Institutions stakeholder meetings, which took place over the summer. I could tell the body there was no consensus. There is no consensus. There is not going to be a consensus. The BFI recommended a bill that had a couple little changes in it. Chairman Kilgore took that bill and did some things to it, but that's his bill. That ain't my bill. The bill that we have here, the bill that Commerce and Labor Committee reported out, I think 10-2, I want to say, or 13-2, something like that, or 12-2, was a bill that was requested by the consumer finance industry. Consumer finance loans are a very specific type of licensed loans. They are separate from banks, which have a different license. Credit unions have a different license. Savings institutions have a different license. Payday lenders have a different license. Motor vehicle title lenders or car title loans have a different license. Consumer finance lenders have their own license. The consumer finance, the companies we're talking about are companies like Marine, Landmark Finance, Regional Finance, Atlantic Financial Service, Franklin Finance, Bynum Finance, One Main. These companies asked us to make these changes to their act. They don't want to be in the same box with internet lenders, people that make loans at 900% interest or 400% interest, people that make loans on the internet to Virginians right now. They're completely unlicensed, unregulated. The consumer finance guys don't want them in their box. My bill keeps them out of the box. So this bill, if the internet lenders, the Internet Lending Alliance was the only people to speak against this bill. If they want to be in, and if they want a bill, then I would quote Chairman Kilgore what he used to say when I was in front of him: get your own bill. They need to get their own bill and stop getting into this one. So please don't send this back to committee. There's no changes that need to be made to it. And, I'm concerned that it goes back there. It ain't coming out because there is not a consensus on this. When there isn't a consensus, it's our job to find one. I would hope you'd oppose the motion.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall Senate Bill 625 be recommitted to the Committee on Commerce and Labor? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. The chair is uncertain. We'll have a recorded vote. All in favor of agreeing to the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 20, noes 19.
Ayes 20, noes 19. The motion is agreed to.
Senate Bill 159, a bill relating to the Commonwealth's lien for payment of medical services limitations. Reported from the Committee on Finance with amendment.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move the bill go by for the day.
Without objection, Senate Bill 159 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 222, a bill relating to medically or ethically inappropriate care not required. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health with amendments, and there is a floor amendment.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that the committee amendments be agreed to.
Question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
Mr. President.
Senator from Roanoke, Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that we waive the reading of the floor amendment.
Question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendment reading is waived. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that we agree to the floor amendment and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, the committee looked at a number of amendments to this bill. This is one of the ones that all the stakeholders, including the senator from Roanoke City, agreed to. Unfortunately, Legislative Services made a small error and left this one out. It deletes two words, which harmful if, which comes before medically necessary. I hope we would agree to this, and then I think the compromise on the bill comes together.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the floor amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendment is agreed to. Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I now move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 261, a bill relating to the standards of quality, staffing requirements, librarians, and clerical personnel. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd move that Senate Bill 261 be engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall Senate Bill 261 be engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 293, a bill relating to dispensing of certain drugs and devices. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill be engrossed and passed to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading.
Senate Bill 339, a bill relating to deferred dispositions, persons with autism or intellectual disabilities. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with amendments.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd move the committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill now be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 343, a bill relating to school boards' employment of certain individuals, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with substitute and from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute.
Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Mr. President, with the recommendation that it be rejected, I move that the Committee on Education and Health substitute be approved.
Thank the senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the committee substitute from Education and Health be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
The noes have it. The committee substitute is rejected. Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Mr. President, I move that the Committee for Courts of Justice's substitution be approved.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute from the Courts of Justice be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no.
Yes.
The ayes have it. The committee substitute from Courts of Justice is agreed to. Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Mr. President, I'm going to get that language right soon. Mr. President, I move that the bill substitute be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 466, a bill relating to maximum speed limits on certain highways, reported from the Committee on Transportation with a substitute.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Spotsylvania.
Glad I could lead the pack there, Mr. President. I'd ask we engross and advance this fine bill.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 492, a bill relating to towing fees, reported from the Committee on Transportation.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Mr. President, I move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 496, a bill relating to off-road recreational vehicles, highway speed limit.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill be engrossed and passed to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 509, a bill relating to handheld photo speed monitoring devices, reported from the Committee on Transportation with amendments.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to adopt the committee amendments.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are adopted. The senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Move to engross and advance to its third constitutional reading.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 727, a bill relating to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, exemptions, courts of record, courts not of record, the Office of the Executive Secretary. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with amendments.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd move the committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Mr. President, I'd move the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third constitutional reading.
Senate Bill 939, a bill relating to retired circuit court judges, Court of Appeals judges, and Supreme Court justices under recall, qualification by committees for courts of justice. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with the substitute.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Mr. President, I move the substitute be adopted.
Question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
And Mr. President, in anticipation of another small amendment to this, I would ask that this bill now go by for the day.
Without objection, Senate Bill 939 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 958, a bill relating to invoice for unpaid tolls mail. Reported from the Committee on Transportation.
Junior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSteff.
Mr. President, I move we engross and advance this fine bill to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 969, a bill to require the Board of Education to provide for a verified credit in social studies in high school. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health with the substitute.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. The Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I now move that the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall Senate Bill 969 be engrossed in advance to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Uncontested calendar, Senate Bill on first reading.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that all Senate bills on first reading of the uncontested and regular calendars, page 37 through 38, Senate Bills 647 through Senate Bill 984, that the rules of the Senate be suspended and the first constitutional readings of the titles be dispensed with.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the first reading of the titles of Senate bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 37 through 38, Senate Bill 647 through Senate Bill 984 be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I now move that all said bills be passed by for the day.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the Senate bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on second reading be passed by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day.
Mr. President, inquiry of the
Senator
clerk.
from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Inquiry of the clerk. Does that complete the calendar for the day?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Senator. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? Senior Senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Mr. President, could we return to morning hour for just a very brief moment?
Without objection.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, today is kind of an important day. Stop right there, Senator Saslaw. In 1940, one of our members was born, 1940. Shortly after that, I think the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. But I would say that Senator Saslaw has been with us since 1940, and I want to wish him a very happy birthday from the Senate.
You're here. Senior Senator from Fairfax.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for the good wishes, but just for the record, Pearl Harbor didn't occur as a result of my birth. Okay. All right.
Do any other senators wish to be recognized? Seeing none, the clerk will report any announcements on the desk.
Today, Monday, February 5th, the Committee on Commerce and Labor will meet 15 minutes after adjournment in Pocahontas, Senate Room A. The Committee on General Laws and Technology will meet 30 minutes after adjournment in Senate Room 3 in the Capitol. The Finance Subcommittee on Health and Human Resources will meet at 4 p.m., 5th floor Subcommittee Room number 1 in Pocahontas. Senators Hanger, Howell, Norman, Newman, Barker, Donovan, Stewart, and Dance. The Northern Virginia delegation will meet at 5 p.m., 6th floor Senate Leadership Conference Room in Pocahontas. Tomorrow, Tuesday, February the 6th, the Finance Subcommittee on Economic Development and Natural Resources will meet at 7:30 a.m., 5th floor Subcommittee Room in number 1 in Pocahontas. Senators Ruff, Saslaw, Hanger, Wagner, Obenshain, Stewart, and Dance. The Education and Health Subcommittee on Health Professions will meet at 8:30 a.m., 5th floor Subcommittee Room number 2 in Pocahontas. Senators Donovan, Suderline, Carrico, Barker, Lucas, and Peake. The Committee on Finance will meet at 9 o'clock in Committee Room B in Pocahontas. The Republican caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m. in Senate Room 2. The Democratic caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m. in Senate Room 1.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 12 noon tomorrow.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adjourn until 12 noon tomorrow? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The Senate stands adjourned until 12 o'clock noon tomorrow.